Kenya becomes the first country in East Africa to approve the use of genetically modified foods. This lifting a 10-year ban on the use and importation of GMO foods in the country. But as Sam Ogina now reports, the cabinet decision comes barely 7 months after the United States government protested the ban, claiming it was restrictive to its exports to the country. Could the lifting of the ban be a product of a diplomatic push by the U.S. government?
The cabinet decision okaying the importation and use of genetically modified foods was pegged on addressing food security in the country. Banned in November 2012 by the then Public Health Minister Beth Mugo, sources conversant with the GMO debate in the country indicate upon the inception of retired President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration in 2013, the U.S. government renewed its push for the government to revise its decision on the ban of GMO foods. The cabinet then would task a food scientist to undertake a study and report back. The professor from the University of Nairobi returned a favorable verdict on adopting importation and production of genetically modified foods. But there was no consensus then at the cabinet to lift the ban.
Good morning, good people. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Fast forward to 2022, on its second sitting under the leadership of President William Ruto, cabinet unanimously lifted the 10-year ban. Interestingly, the lift comes just barely 7 months after the United States publicly slammed Kenya for restricting its exports to the country with a sustained ban. In April this year, the U.S. Trade Representative Office, USTR, lamented over the ban. The USTR indicated Kenya's ban has blocked both the U.S. government aid and agricultural exports derived from agricultural biotechnology. The report further stated the restriction affects U.S. exports of processed and unprocessed foods and feeds ingredients. With this protest, diplomatic analysts quip the revision of the ban on GM foods in the country has everything to do with a diplomatic push.
And the question is, what is it that went into persuading President Ruto into accepting GMOs? Were these the pressures from the international or multinational corporations supported by their big countries? Because each of these things have a supporting base, a political supporting base. And most of them, their political supporting base is the United States, because they're headquartered there.
Upon his swearing in, President William Ruto met with the U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai at State House on the evening of September 13th, hours after taking the oath of office. Leading the U.S. delegation, Tai then noted her administration's support for shared global and regional priorities, including enhancing two-way trade and investment and promoting sustainable and inclusive economic growth. On the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, President Ruto equally held talks with the U.S. President Joe Biden. A meeting that was preceded by that of the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, where food security, peace and security formed the basis of the discussion.
It's also, the name is politics, it's geopolitics. So the trade-off. If the trade-off is not good for the country, then even if the price sounds good, you say no. If it is good on all accounts, in terms of the price and the country's image and reputation, then you discuss. So all those things go into the discussions.
The U.S. government is at the forefront of pushing its giant companies, such as Monsanto, involved in GM foods to find new markets outside the West. But with Kenya's immediate traditional trading partners in East Africa yet to onboard the use of GM foods, it begs the question, will the country lose some of its trading partners who remain skeptical on the use of genetically modified foods?
Those who buy our tea, our coffee, our pirate, our cotton, if they are not for genetically modified anything, they might start having questions about what we are selling to them. And it's not a very good thing. They might say, then we don't need it. We can, if that is the case.
From the GMO debate is President William Ruto's administration's foreign policy shifting from the east to the west. While his predecessor heavily relied on China for help, Ruto appears to be leaning to the west. Sam Ogina, Citizen TV, Nairobi.